Are you open to providing aid to California without any conditions at all?
I think we've got to have a serious conversation about that. Obviously, there's been water resource mismanagement, forest management mistakes, all sorts of problems. And it does come down to leadership, and it appears to us that state and local leaders were derelict in their duty in many respects. So that's something that has to be factored in.
While radical climate Democrats control California, they control the White House, do you think that when the disaster aid in the Senate comes through, that Congress will put some kind of limits on it, going, we're not wasting it on your nonsense, California, we're getting it to the people who've been hurt?
We certainly should. You know, I certainly wouldn't vote for anything unless we see dramatic change in how they're going to be handling these things in the future. These are decisions Californian Democrats have made year after year after year. They divert water into the ocean. They don't fill up their reservoirs. They don't clean up their forests. They don't get rid of the underbrush, the real tinder, the real fuel for these fires. So again, it's their fault.
Like it's been talked about, it's going to have to be in conjunction with some reforms that California hasn't been willing to make on the way they regulate their water and things of that nature, their forest management, all these other things, the things that led to the fire. We can't just dump money into a broken system, a poorly managed system, which California absolutely is across the board, and it led to a lot of the damage you see here is because they weren't prepared. They wasted their taxpayer dollars on all kinds of crazy woke agenda items that they've had and green energy stuff, and they haven't really focused on what keeps their state safe. And so we're going to have to help there, but we're going to expect some reforms, and we're going to try to find some pay-fors, and we're going to have to make some cuts.
Let's not forget the other side of this equation. There's $36 trillion in debt that every American is paying $100,000 into. We can't just keep running up the government credit card here. And one of the things that I'll push back on is we've got to be able to grow our economy. We do that with tax cuts, but we also have to spend responsibly here. And so just like aid to California, we will certainly help those thousands of homes and families who have been devastated, but we also expect you to change bad behavior. We should look at the same for these blue states who have run away with a broken tax policy. We want to be able to help out our colleagues in New York, California, New Jersey, but we also want those governors need to change their tune now.
Is it time for the federal government to stop subsidizing states that intentionally put their own populations in harm's way?
Well, we need to, of course, hold California accountable. As someone who served with State Senator Valadares, we were on the front lines in the state legislature pushing Governor Newsom to undo the damage that he was doing when it came to wildfire management, when it came to investing in water infrastructure, when it came to investing in first responders. And again, we were fighting tooth and nail against that Democrat supermajority who just resisted every step of the way.
This is an indictment on liberal policies, environmental policies, and we need to talk about that because they are behind this, whether it's the smelt or the environmental groups that are the donors that are funding these campaigns that are basically suing anyone who tries to do the right thing in terms of fire prevention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's everywhere. You can't avoid it in the news, and it shouldn't be avoided. It's so horrible. The fires we have now in Southern California that are devastating, so much there, so much value, so much lost, and up to 24 lost lives now. It's an incredibly unnecessary happening. They've been raging in LA. It happens every year with the Santa Ana winds. But up in the Northern California portion that I represent, we've had that devastation already many times. Town of Paradise, town of Greenville, town of Canyon Dam, and others completely obliterated. Now, our Governor Gavin Newsom has been up there to see those fires, especially the Paradise one, when President Trump came to Paradise and visited to see the devastation. So at the time, President Trump asked him and others, what are you doing to clear the land in such a way that makes it less fire prone, to rake the forest floor? And then people made fun of that word rake, which actually is a technical term for some of the equipment used in forestry, to make sure areas can be a little more fire safe by thinning trees, removing brush, removing dead material on that. So the question is, as Governor Newsom goes out on site and waves his arms and tells us it's someone else's fault, then what has he learned in the last 6 years? And more importantly, what has he applied since he had this photo op in Paradise as the new governor of California? It looks like not much action. Southern California is getting international coverage, and rightfully so. So what are we going to do? What is Newsom going to do? Well, he wants to blame it on climate change. And so we see time and time again, we're hearing about climate change. We're hearing about carbon dioxide. Well, here's the same chart I show often on this floor. Carbon dioxide represents 0.04% of the atmosphere, and it's barely changed. Look at the rest of the chart, what isn't CO2. And they want to just make it a climate change story.
I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here.
They're willing to pay for the weapons.
Our economy's in shambles. They have been slow walking weapons in Ukraine. The Ukrainians have been doing all the fighting. The border is broken. They care more about illegal immigrants than they do anything else, it appears to be. And this needs to stop. And how do you stop it? November the 5th.